Hello, I'm Tony Guida. This is My New York. You, me, and our 8.5 million neighbors are very wasteful people. We create 16 million pounds of trash every day, and then we waste heaps of money getting rid of it. $400 million a year to landfill that stuff. But here is a bulletin. Most of our trash is not waste. It's a resource that can save us money and even create jobs. My guest today knows just how much gold is in them there coffee grinds and drinking cups. Ron Gonen, once the Bloomberg administration's recycling czar, now makes a good living investing in new ideas in recycling.
One of the most innovative companies that we've invested in is a company called Home Biogas. It's a household-size anaerobic digester. It's a technology that goes right into your home. It can take all of your food waste and convert it into gas at home that goes right into your stove or your hot water heater.
Wow. Food waste is a big problem. It is the problem, as I understand it, in terms of recycling.
Food waste is the largest part of the waste stream. It represents about 40% of the waste stream, and the United States spends billions of dollars a year landfilling food waste that could actually be turned into valuable products like compost or natural gas.
What does it cost to landfill food waste?
In New York City, it costs anywhere from $100 to $150 a ton to landfill.
And how many tons might we be producing?
New York City generates millions of tons of waste a year. We spend about $400 million a year of taxpayer money to landfill waste. 180 million of that 400 million is food waste. And so if we can figure out ways to divert food waste from the landfill into either compost or natural gas via anaerobic digesters, we're going to save a lot of taxpayer money.
How do we express this, Ron? And what percentage of households are doing this? Or?
Yeah. By the end of this year, about 20% of New York City households will have direct access to curbside organics collection. The goal is within 5 years that all households will have direct access to curbside organics recycling. When I say curbside, I mean literally right at your curb, just like you're recycling and garbage. And almost all New Yorkers today have access to taking their organic waste to the local farmers market
Sure.
in their neighborhood as well.
So that curbside collection would be of separated food items, trash, that is composted?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So for the New Yorkers that don't have access to the program yet, if you're walking around different neighborhoods and you see brown bins with wheels and a lid, those are the food waste bins that the city has distributed in certain neighborhoods and to all public schools. If you live in those neighborhoods, you take your food waste and you put it in those containers. The city collects it, and rather than sending it to landfills with taxpayer dollars, instead it's either going to a compost facility where compost is being created, or it's going to what's called an anaerobic digester that converts food waste to gas.
How much of a challenge in this city, the way we live, lots of apartment buildings, lots of high-rise, is composting for families?
Anything dealing with waste management in New York City, including food waste, is by far the most challenging scenario in the United States. We're one of the oldest cities, we're the largest city, we have the most complex and diverse housing stock. That being said, with being the most challenging situation in city, it's also the greatest opportunity both to save taxpayer money because waste management is so expensive here, and also the greatest opportunity to set example for the rest of the country.
So going back to the first item you mentioned, a company that is doing with food waste something productive. Mm-hmm. So now that we've been through this discussion, explain it a little more.
Sure. So Home Biogas is a company that has a device, think of it as an appliance like your refrigerator, your dishwasher, that you can put all of your food waste into it, and its technology converts your food waste into gas that pumps right into your stove or to your hot water heater. So
it gets back into the grid somehow?
It can either go right back into the grid, or it can be used right in your home. So rather than pumping the gas into the grid, the gas can literally be pumped right into your stove or to your hot water heater, which saves you money in two ways. First is now your city isn't paying to pick up and dispose of your food waste in landfill, number one. Number two is you're not having to pay to get gas to your house. You're generating your own gas via your food waste. Technology exists today. It's being sold in other parts of the world.
And jobs. Apparently, smart recycling, I'll call it, not only saves money, but creates jobs.
It's a great point. Recycling is a major job creator locally in New York City as well as across the U.S. The landfills that New York City sends its waste to are in Pennsylvania, Ohio, South Carolina. There's a waste-to-energy facility we use in New Jersey. So we're exporting all of that waste. We're using taxpayer dollars to put the waste into landfills out of state. It creates jobs in out of state economies. Our recycling infrastructure in New York City, it's local. We have one major recycling facility in Brooklyn. We have another major recycling facility in Staten Island, another major recycling facility up in the Bronx. So the more we divert from landfill into the local recycling economy, the local organics economy, we're creating local jobs in New York City.
So overall, I was talking to a friend at NRDC, the National Resources Defense Council, who said that the city is making strong efforts, but at this point, we're collecting 18% of the recyclables, and that's too little. What do you think of that assessment?
That is too little. Going deeper, there's some good news in there and there's some bad news in there. The good news is there's parts of New York City that have recycling rates that are as high as anywhere in the country.
Like where?
Upper West Side, Park Slope, Tribeca, Chelsea, the West Village. The recycling rates in those neighborhoods are as high as anywhere in the country. And that's the great news. The bad news is there's also parts of New York City where there's almost no recycling going on. Public housing, for example, which represents about 8 to 10% of the city's housing stock, has almost no recycling service. And so
this is NYCHA.
This is NYCHA.
The acronym, New York City Housing Authority.
Exactly.
There's no recycling?
There's virtually no recycling.
How did that happen?
It's a long story over many years, but it's really unfortunate that NYCHA hasn't been able to partner with the sanitation department to build a recycling program, because NYCHA is one of the organizations and parts of the city that is really desperate for money. And they're throwing valuable commodities like cardboard and aluminum and plastic water bottles in the garbage, which costs money, instead of selling it, which could be revenue back to NYCHA.
What has to happen, and maybe you're treading a little carefully here in terms of not wanting to step on certain people's toes, but I'd appreciate as candid a response as you can give me. What has to happen for that to change? I mean, we've got how many apartments? It's 400,000 or more? I don't remember the number. But
it's about 8% of the city's housing stock. It's like a city unto itself.
What has to happen to get NYCHA in the recycling business?
I think you need a significant amount of mayoral leadership, and you need a significant amount of leadership from NYCHA to make that happen. And look, this is a larger issue in the city just beyond recycling. NYCHA has a number of problems that it's struggling with.
They can't even keep their apartments mold-free, or ceilings are collapsing, and so
exactly.
maybe recycling isn't on the front burner for them. But
right, I think that the challenge there is everybody there sees the opportunity with recycling. The challenge with NYCHA today is it's one of many big problems that needs to be fixed. But if NYCHA could get focused on waste diversion and recycling, it'd be an opportunity for NYCHA to reduce costs and generate revenue, and I think also increase the quality of living in public housing in New York City. And then you'd see a big jump in numbers, because as I mentioned, there are already parts of the city that are actually doing really well when it comes to recycling.
Whenever I read statistics about this, national statistics, 3 cities come up: San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. They're doing great. They're doing 3 times as well as we're doing in terms of recycling. I recognize they're smaller cities than New York, but are they doing something that we should be doing and haven't figured out yet? Why are those cities so successful?
Those cities do have some advantages over New York City, as you mentioned. They're much smaller. They have a relatively uniform housing stock. So they do have some advantages over New York City. But that being said, New York City does have a number of neighborhoods whose recycling rates are just as high as what you see in Portland, Seattle, and San Francisco. What New York also has, which they don't have, are parts of the city, as I mentioned before, public housing, where the recycling rates are almost non-existent.
Yeah. For a moment, let's talk about the commercial side of this, which I'm told is broken, just not working. Is that fair assessment?
It could be much better. It could be much better.
So it's broken.
Yeah. There are parts to it. I would say there's some excellent haulers in New York City doing commercial hauling. There's some haulers that are doing okay. And then there's definitely some bottom feeders in the system. And so I think when people say that it's broken, I try to be somewhat sensitive to that comment because I don't want to pull in some of the really high quality haulers into a scenario where people are describing it as broken.
But overall, there's a report out recently that the recycling in the commercial sector has declined, not the trend you want to see.
Well, I think you see a number of similarities between the commercial sector and residential sector in that just like in the residential sector, there's some parts of the city that are doing really well and some parts that are doing really poorly. Similarly, in the commercial sector, you've got some haulers that are high quality haulers doing a great job. And unfortunately, you also have some haulers in the city that are terrible and probably shouldn't be operating in the city at all. And we really need to address those haulers while also helping the high quality haulers get more work and do better.
We've been spending a lot of time talking about food waste and its importance in this issue, the challenge, which of course brings to mind restaurants. And we have more than a few in this city. And restaurants contract with commercial carters to pick that stuff up. Are restaurants required to compost, to separate their food waste?
Depends on the size of their kitchen. So a law that was passed under the Bloomberg administration that went into effect last year.
When you were in the department, right?
That commercial kitchens of a certain size, by law, are now barred from sending any food waste to landfill. So if you visit Yankee Stadium, you'll see that Yankee Stadium and their hauler Action Carting run a phenomenal food waste collection program. And over the next few years, you'll see all restaurants. City Field as well, Madison Square Garden, NYU as another example. And over the next few years, you'll see the rest of the New York City restaurant and commercial kitchen industry be brought into that law and to conform with organic separation and diversity.
Well, it's good to hear that the major food creators, if you will, the places like the stadiums and arenas, are doing it, but we've got, I don't know, 100,000 restaurants, some of them little mom and pop things, but I mean an awful lot of food is being consumed in this city that isn't getting recycled.
Right. Well, New York City has tremendous food consumption, and along with that it has tremendous food waste. And the goal is to maintain the food waste consumption that's good for the restaurant industry and make sure that the food waste is properly managed. The good news about all of this is that food waste diversion from landfill, it's good business for the restaurant industry. It should be much less expensive to send food waste to a compost facility or anaerobic digester than sending it to landfill. So if we can get this to scale, if we get everybody collaborating together, this will be a great business opportunity for the restaurant industry and a great thing for the environment as well.
On this business of the commercial carters, the de Blasio administration is looking to fix it all with something called zoning.
Franchising.
Can you put that into English and so our viewers will understand what the plan is and how it would solve things?
Sure. So one of the problems in the commercial waste sector in New York City today is that you have 200 plus haulers all competing with each other for work all around the city. And so what you can oftentimes get is on one street, you can have 7 or 8 haulers operating, which creates a tremendous amount of traffic, a tremendous amount of pollution.
So restaurant A could contract with one carter, and the restaurant next door, a different one, and it's a free-for-all.
Exactly.
That's what you're talking about.
It's a free-for-all. They're constantly undercutting each other on price, so the restaurants are switching haulers. You've got 7 different haulers operating on the street. They back up traffic. There's a lot of issues with it. And the idea behind franchising, which has been done successfully in a number of other cities, is to essentially zone the city into, it could be 10 franchises, could be 16 franchises, and haulers would bid for each one of those franchises. And if they win a franchise, they would be the only hauler that could operate in that franchise.
Let's get back to recycling in terms of the city and its residents. Why do I have the feeling that most of the folks don't understand what's recyclable and what's not? Is that a fair statement?
I think it depends on the neighborhood.
Again, the neighborhood.
Yeah, I think if you look at certain neighborhoods, there's a clear understanding of what can and can't be recycled. A lot of that has to do with, it's the law in buildings to actually put stickers in the hallways and the containers. What you find in middle to upper income neighborhoods in the city, the buildings do a very good job of communicating with the residents around what can be recycled, what can't be recycled. The lower you go on the income scale and the housing stock, the worse the communication gets, number one. Also, the more transient the population is, so the more you have to do the education over and over again. And we really...
Well, yeah, New York is constantly adding new residents and...
New residents, but you also generally see that in more middle to upper income neighborhoods, there's more consistency in the people living in that building or that apartment.
Give us a couple of misconceptions. What's it likely that I think is recyclable that isn't?
A coffee cup today, a paper coffee cup today.
One of the white styrofoam ones?
No, styrofoam is definitely not.
That's a whole other issue. We'll come to that.
Yeah.
But the ones with the Greek vase on them or whatever that thing is.
Yeah. So the traditional paper coffee cup today, although it may be made from 100% recycled paper, which is great, because it has a thin plastic lining for temperature control on the inside, generally when it shows up at the recycling facility, it'll be considered contamination. Starbucks and McDonald's have actually partnered with our firm to develop the next generation coffee cup that will be recyclable.
I was going to ask you about that. I was reading about your firm, Closed Loop Partners, and this partnership. How's it going?
It's going well so far. There's a steep hill to climb. There's lots of coffee cups out there that are used every day, and we're working with both of those companies to develop what will be the next generation coffee cup, which needs to have the same convenience and price as the coffee cup on the market today, but needs to be much more sustainable.
I eat a fair amount of pizza. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I take it out. Is that box recyclable? I would think it is, but...
Yeah. As long as the box doesn't have too much grease or tomato sauce on it, it is absolutely recyclable. And great news is that pizza box that you're probably eating from was probably manufactured in Staten Island using recycled paper from New York City.
Really?
Yeah, there's a...
So all this paper, like let's say newspaper you're talking about, and all this other stuff we see bundled up and being taken away is actually... producing something.
Yeah, there's a paper recycling facility owned by a company called Pratt Industries in Staten Island. And next door to the paper recycling facility, Pratt Industries has a paper mill where they take the paper that's been collected from New York City and they turn it into pizza boxes that gets turned right back into the New York City economy. It's a very valuable operation. In fact, New York City has a contract with Pratt to sell its paper to them where there's a floor. So no matter what the commodities market is doing, New York City is always getting paid for its paper.
I like to hear that. I mentioned styrofoam, which is actually polystyrene, a real killer to the environment. Where are we? I know the city has a law, but it was challenged.
Under the Bloomberg administration, we passed a law banning the sale of styrofoam in the city. The industry sued the city. It took a while through the courts, but the good news is this past year, their lawsuit was dismissed, and the city has now been able to move forward with its ban on styrofoam.
Now, the other thing that we see all over the place in trees, I've never understood that, plastic bags and straws, the straws that we use in all those, drinks at McDonald's and every place else. What's the challenge with that, and what kind of progress, if any, are we making?
Sure. Well, and when it comes to plastic bags, New York City Council passed a 5-cent fee on plastic bags to try to decrease the amount of plastic bags in the system. The industry got to some of the politicians up in Albany who, for whatever reason, chose to take this up. And
the state said
we couldn't do it.
State knocked it out.
Yes, yes. And when it comes to plastic bags, styrofoam, plastic straws, let's step away from the environmental hazard that they cause, which is a very real hazard, and let's talk dollars and cents for a moment. New York City next year will spend about $12 million landfilling plastic bags. That is taxpayer money that will be used to landfill plastic bags because they can't be recycled. So whatever you feel about climate change, the environment, you're Republican, you're Democrat, people need to understand that there's certain types of packaging and products that are put into the system that if they cannot be recycled, we as taxpayers need to share the burden of sending it to landfill. And I think a clear message was sent with the styrofoam ban. I think we need to do the same thing with plastic bags of, if you're going to sell a product or package, it needs to be recyclable. Otherwise, you're expecting taxpayers to pick up the cost of
So what's the
landfilling it.
answer here? I mean, we tried, as you said, city tried, and failed in the sense that the industry beat us on this. How do we beat plastic bags?
I think that the first thing we need to start with is a messaging campaign that includes messaging around its environmental hazard, but is really focused on the impact of plastic bags to taxpayers, so that if legislators in Albany want to oppose what the city is trying to do on plastic bags, they're sending a clear message that we're going to side with companies out of state as opposed to what's in the best interest of the local taxpayer. And I think the first step is making sure the messaging is clear about how much things like plastic bags and the disposal of them cost taxpayers.
I get the feeling the sanitation department as committed to this as it is, and I don't mean to undercut any of their efforts, but the education of the public has been spotty and perhaps lacking. What do you think?
I think education can always use more funding. I think the sanitation department is very committed to outreach and communication, but it has a limited budget when it comes to outreach and communication. Things like trucks, labor costs, containers, the hard assets are always going to get priority when it comes to funding. And sometimes education and outreach does get underfunded, unfortunately. But I can tell you that the folks at the sanitation department are very committed to outreach. It's just a matter of how much budget they have access to. The other thing is, there's a lot of challenges the sanitation department faces when it comes to education and outreach in New York City, because the city is so large, there's so many languages, it's so diverse. But that's what I also think makes it an exciting opportunity, because you can do great things in New York City, but also set an example for other parts of the country.
When you were appointed by Mayor Bloomberg and called the first, by the press, by us, the first recycling czar in this city, you had a couple of goals, and essentially your basic one was, you said you're going to turn waste into a resource, into a business. How, we've been talking about that all this time, but if you can give us an overview, wrap it up. How much of a business have we been able to turn waste into in the city so far?
I think that is definitely developing, and it's going to continue to develop. A good way to think about it is New York City spends $400 million a year landfilling waste. So anybody who has a business that can take that waste and instead recycle it, there's a huge financial opportunity, because the money can go to them instead. I think you see the development of the Sims facility in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. That was a $150 million facility that was built by a private company. Pratt Industries has their facility.
That's an impressive facility in Brooklyn, the one you're talking about. And all you have to do, by the way, is go online and look it up, and there are videos. What they do there is amazing, but to get to the point that you're making, they're doing something we weren't doing before, sorting out stuff. And then being able to sell it. How many jobs did that create?
The Sims facility that New York City, built under the Bloomberg administration, has created hundreds of jobs throughout the state. Some of those jobs are directly in Brooklyn, some in other parts of the state. But the great news about that facility is it's probably the most advanced recycling facility in the United States, and it's right here in New York City.
And they do give tours.
They give phenomenal tours.
Yeah.
The way we've been manufacturing for the past 100 years, where we extract natural resources, we manufacture using those resources, sell the product, and then when we finish using the product, we pay to stick it in the landfill, that's not no longer sustainable from an environmental standpoint. It's no longer sustainable from an economic standpoint. And we're seeing a new model of manufacturing developed, which is what we call the circular economy, where you may extract once, but after you manufacture the first time, you continue to reuse that material over and over and over again in a closed loop system. And we see a tremendous amount of economic opportunity in moving from a linear manufacturing system to a circular manufacturing system.
So that's the short answer to all those folks who say recycling it doesn't work.
Recycling is big business. It's done all over the world, and there's lots of traction and opportunity in the space.
Ron Gonen, it's a delight to talk to you and be educated so completely on the subject. We'll look to see you again when we build some more recycling businesses in this city.
Thanks, and glad to be here.
Thank you.